All right. So, first of all, $10 billion. Do you remember when that was real money? Apparently, Biden yesterday went ahead and freed up another $10 billion for Iran. Now, let's remember that Iran just said death to America is not a slogan that we chant. It's policy. Here's the State Department asked about, they're a terrorist state. What are you doing?
When they do use it, and they use $1 million to buy medicine of this money, that frees up another $1 million that they would have had to spend on this, without the sanctions waiver.
I understand,
and they can use that to.
I understand the argument. I don't agree with it, and here's why. If they were sitting on that $1 million, they would use it for their destabilizing activities to fund terrorism and deny medicine to their people. That's the point I'm making.
Oh, okay.
And to approve $1 million of, say, medical transactions that benefit the Iranian people, we believe those are benefits to the Iranian people that they would not have otherwise gotten.
So it's just a lost cause.
Okay, so that's good. So this is insanity. Meanwhile, Nikki Haley wants everybody's name. The government, you need to register your name when you go online, apparently with the government for national security reasons. Cut 4, please.
When I get into office, the first thing we have to do, social media accounts, social media companies, they have to show America their algorithms. Let us see why they're pushing what they're pushing. The second thing is every person on social media should be verified by their name. That's, first of all, it's a national security threat. When you do that, all of a sudden people have to stand by what they say, and it gets rid of the Russian bots, the Iranian bots, and the Chinese bots. And then you're going to get some civility when people know their name is next to what they say.
Accountability.
And they know their pastor and their family.
I'm actually for this if it's not run through the government. If private companies say, you got to verify your name, we have to know who this is, that's fine. Private companies can do that. But we share too much information now with the government. So, it's a government agency almost. And I don't want the government dictating. And I certainly don't want the government looking into the algorithms. I don't mind if it's an open source, but not given just to the government. And I think that's what she was suggesting.
I don't know. It's kind of difficult to tell what she's suggesting exactly. The policy seems to be, she said it was the first thing she would do when she got into office. So Obviously, number one, she's obviously thought about this a lot. It's not like a whimsical statement. And number two, it seems to have some government interaction, because why would her being in office have anything to do with it if it was just some private policy?
Right.
So I'd say
I don't know.
It's a weird take.
Yeah,
I will say,
is.
because I think you're right. If everyone had their name by their social media, and I think Nikki's right.
Yeah.
It would make social media conversations more civil. It's true.
We might be able to get rid of the bots.
And we might be able to get rid of some of the bots. Although we've seen, that was Elon Musk's number one priority when he took over Twitter, and he has not done it.
Yeah.
I think it's also very hard to do.
Okay. So the last thing is, I don't know if you've seen the streets of San Francisco, but they don't look like they used to. First of all, it's the absence of all poop. And the second thing is, the streets are lined with communist China flags. When you watch the motorcade come in.
How is this happening?
I don't know.
I can't.
I don't know. When Khrushchev came, we didn't line the streets with Russian flags. That would have been a warning sign to us that we were losing the country. But that's what happened yesterday. But California is so screwed up. There's a new report out. This is from the Washington Free Beacon. Since 2017, California has spent more than $4 million of taxpayers' money on surgical sex changes and cosmetic gender-affirming enhancements for 157 prison inmates, including 4 dudes on death row. Breaking that number down, since 2017, when California became the first state to pay for prisoners' transition surgeries, California has spent $2.5 million on fake vaginas for 35 male prisoners. 35. Hundreds.
I would have had more of a problem if you did know how to pronounce that. That would have been the disturbing part of that.
Anyway, hundreds of thousands of other dollars on fake breasts, laser hair removal, and facial feminization. 11 male inmates have received breast implants at a cost of more than $180,000. 2 have received facial feminization surgeries for $184,141. 69 males have gotten laser hair removal for a total of $224,000. 40 female prisoners have had their breasts removed for a total of more than $1 million. Now, California has no limits on the type of procedure that trans prisoners can request. And to date, it has in line 1,000 petitions from prisoners. So this is just the beginning. It's limitless care, which kind of goes against California's health care for inmates. For instance, dental care, strict limitations, including not allowing root canals on back teeth. They won't pay for any cosmetic tooth restoration or replacement, or they won't treat oral ulcers, but they'll give you a new vagina. The cost of limitless gender-affirming care is growing every day. Corrections agency officials this year requested $2.2 million in new funds just for gender-affirming care. Whew. So this is it's a real problem. California is pouring into this absurd system while their streets are covered in human waste, used drug needles, zombified drug addicts. This is insanity. But I think we swore that word off yesterday, didn't we? I can't say the story is insane.
The word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
I think you're right. But even more insane are the dangers of this type of enabling that it brings. Minnesota just settled with a transgender man who claims to be a woman prisoner named Christina, who will now receive a massive payout of almost $500,000 and will be allowed to move from the male prison where he should be, state's women's only prison in Minnesota. So he's going to have access there to gender-affirming health care and also real women. Hey, no matter what anybody says, no matter what gender I am, I used to be a man, always a lesbian. You know what I'm saying? I only want to have sex with women. Born a man, now a woman. Born a lesbian, always a lesbian. Don't judge me, I was born this way. Oh, wait. No, that's not accurate anymore. It's fluid. I'll get back to you. The trauma that women are now experiencing as men who are convicted of horrid sex crimes, they're entering the prisons, and it is swept under the rug or ignored. There was about a month or so ago, we got a call from a woman in California. Her name was Linda. She volunteered her free time by visiting incarcerated women in the women's prison. One of the inmates that Linda got to know and began mentoring was forced to room with one of these transgender men. After Linda began asking too many questions, I guess, her visitation rights were terminated due to, quote, significant safety concerns. Linda remained in contact with the inmate, and the things she shared with my staff are extremely concerning. This is from a California women's prison. According to Linda, after her visitation rights were terminated, she sent an appeal letter criticizing the prison for the actions that took place. Later, the inmate Linda was mentoring reached out, claiming she was being forcibly removed from her jail cell because her roommate suddenly came down with a case of COVID, and there was no place to put her except the hole where she slept on cement. We found this a little hard to believe. One of my producers reached out to the prison, and prison officials confirmed it. Meanwhile, the transgender inmates are being treated with kid gloves. In another email sent to Linda, after the transgender inmate had complained about Linda's mentee being uncomfortable with him using a device that widens things up down there, the prison staff opted not to remove the transgender roommate, but instead removed Linda's mentee. So, after requesting the removal of a man claiming he was a woman, doing things that were very uncomfortable for Linda's mentee, that was ignored and then retaliated against. All it took was for the transgender inmate to complain one time, and it was over. We are being played for fools. And I'd like to say, this isn't normal. But again,
You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.